The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is exactly where it was. Static, hanging in place, waiting for David Zaslav to finish stripping Warner Brothers for parts, but pretending like there's a long-term strategy and gesturing at dumb fanboys of one stripe or another to generate at least one weekend's worth of hype to get this or that project over the finish line, because all the headlining actors are also producers with co-financing deals in the productions they lined up before this whole thing started to shit the bed. This week's candidate is Black Adam, technically a spin-off of Shazam that the studio's been trying to get off the ground, with Dwayne The Rock Johnson in the title role for something like 12 years, long enough to keep Johnson from taking what you'd have to assume was every single offer Marvel could think of in the intervening decade, go back and forth between playing good Shazam or bad Shazam, settling on bad Shazam, the studio to decide bad Shazam actually warranted his own movie, when Johnson went from a B-grade movie star to the only movie star, not named Tom Cruise, and for that movie to arrive reconceived with only a passing mention of its own base franchise, instead as more of a soft relaunch of a brand refresh for the ongoing dumpster fire of the DC Extended Universe by way of a thoroughly spoiled post-credits cameo appearance made possible by two actors sharing an agent who happens to be The Rock's business manager and co-producer of his movies. So yeah, you're basically watching a feature-length concept trailer for the potential of The Rock as Black Adam should they decide to make something closer to an actual fully thought-out movie with him, with the simulacra of one occupying space for now being basically a disposable demo reel, where the most damning criticism one can deliver is that it plays exactly like New Line Cinema in 1996, shooting a Marvel script from 2015, and still manages to be better than most of what Warner Brothers has tried to pass off as superhero movies lately. I mean, make no mistake, Black Adam is garbage, and it's goddamn ridiculous that they spent however much they did on this when so much of the third act still looks exactly like fucking Spawn, but it's peppy, enthusiastic garbage, and at least you don't have to take like a week off work to try and finish it like that last Batman thing, and compared to the Snyder Cut or Wonder Woman 1984, I mean, Christ, this might as well be Citizen fucking Kane. And for a hot minute in the middle of itself, it almost shows signs of having found not just a reason for this DC movie, but the whole blighted project to exist in this oversaturated market, i.e. taking its unavoidable status as a chintzy B-movie inevitably paying catch-up to the Marvel machine as a chance to be a weird, sloppy, and dangerous thing in the way the Disney brand can't. It grounds its action firmly in an exploited Middle Eastern setting, has the citizen get in the Western superheroes' faces about only getting involved on behalf of Western hegemony, it gets off lines about neo-imperialism and not your country, not your decision, and lets the ostensible figureheads of American power be basically bad guys instead of just gesturing at that idea, but ultimately coming down on the compromise Marvel ends up at all the time, i.e. Pax Americana is good, actually, so long as it's basically the cast of the West Wing in Halloween costumes doing Empire maintenance. I mean, it doesn't really pay off at all, because that would require follow-through, and this is still a Warner Brothers movie after all, so instead, Johnson's Black Adam, for the record, an accidentally resurrected superhuman god warrior with the same basic powers as Shazam, thought to be an ancient protector of a secluded Middle Eastern nation exploited for rare earth minerals, who swears he's super but not really a hero for reasons he can't wait to be cryptic about, and the Justice Society, a hastily assembled set of Kmart Avengers scrambled up to rein him in, barely have time to register any real disagreement among themselves before it's time for them to team up against the mandatory generic Act 3 PlayStation 4 era CGI boss monster, because if it didn't work before, and it hasn't, maybe it'll work now? Another weird thing is that it's another superhero entry like The Boys that's sort of arguing with a version of the genre that doesn't actually exist in terms of deconstruction. Black Adam isn't really evil or even all that mean, and he doesn't have much in the way of a coherent ideology. The sole thing that supposedly makes him bad versus the other superheroes, here exemplified by the Justice Society, is that he's entirely willing to kill his enemies, but like, every superhero does that now, and has for a while. Like, Superman kills people, Batman kills people, Aquaman kills a lot of people. The Avengers do tons of war crimes, and then they did a whole movie about how not letting them do war crimes would be the worst war crime. So by the time the Justice Society shows up here, like, hey, we're the by-the-book superheroes, stop killing people, it's like, since when? What kind of candy-ass super team is this? Birkenstocks here beheads people, and she comes from like the island of gender studies. But the Justice Society themselves are kind of a hoot, honestly. Well-cast, fun actors, each given a costume and exactly one character trait, because they figure by now everyone will just fill in the blanks for a genre entry this paint by numbers. So our setup is bald, mean, not Superman versus Angry Bird, sleepy drama queen, Patrick Star, and the CW. Everybody's got good chemistry, especially the young characters. There's some fun back and forth, and I like the relationship between Black Adam and the single mom and little kid who wake him up, even though it's fully telegraphed where that's all expected to go if they make more of these, especially if you remember like the last decade or so of Black Adam appearances in DC. Mostly I'd like to see what this looked like for 4 or 5 cuts ago when presumably there was more character stuff that they chopped out to make this stupid third act. Like I said, it's not good, like, at all, but I didn't hate it. It's fun until it's not. The Rock is charismatic enough to carry almost anything, so yeah, he can almost carry even one of these. 6 out of 10, you won't catch me pretending that this means the DCEU is suddenly a real thing made of real movies with a real future, or that Warner Discovery is a real studio, and I'm a real shareholder. But it's not a complete loss.